Pizza or trailer park? Okay.
Geeks Worldwide, what is up? This is your host, Darby Sparrow, and I'm excited to be back here on Tuesday for another awesome episode of the GWW Capes Crew podcast. We are excited to have one of our favorite returning guests tonight, and of course on a team tonight we got Tyler and David, who we'll talk to in a little bit. But we're gonna jump right in with our guest tonight, since he's out in the world, busy being a cool guy. Ladies and gentlemen, Frank Barbiere to the show. Frank, what is up, man?
Hey, so happy to be here, guys. And, I can never manage to sit down when I'm talking to you, so I apologize for being on the go, but very happy to be here and talk with you guys again.
So, Frank, I gotta ask you, man,
What was
what are
that?
you doing right now? Are you out partying? Are you eating dinner? What's going on?
We are walking home from dinner, so I apologize for any street noise.
Nah, you're cool, man. It's all
But,
good. So Frank,
That's my
I gotta
busy
ask.
life. Just basically eating is my
Yes.
main social activity.
So Frank, before we get into the new and upcoming stuff from your world, I got to ask you about some past stuff that you worked on, and I want to get as much insight as you're allowed to talk about with what subsequently caused the untimely demise of the amazing Howling Commandos book that you were writing for.
I really, again, unfortunately can't speak to
Sure.
specifics as I don't know them, but thank you so much for the praise, both me, Brent Schoonover, Nick Velarde, and
I
Joe
got it right here,
Carmagna.
Frank. It was one of my favorite books that I was reading from you, so I was really sad to see it go.
Thank you so much. I mean, quick aside, writing comics is so weird because you're kind of in a vacuum and you forget that stuff comes out, and I feel like Commando. Well, I've been pretty quiet with my con attendance this year so far. I'm finally doing some shows as the summer approaches, so I really haven't been able to talk to people much at all about it. So thank you so much for the praise. It's a book that we all really loved, but just there's so much out at Marvel right now, and I know that they
Mhm.
have a lot new on the slate with Civil War, a lot of probably new stuff rolling in as the fall comes. So stuff does rotate in and out, and
Right.
I feel like we were one of those books that we didn't necessarily have an extended plan, and I was super happy because everything I pitched, basically the full first arc, we got to
Right.
do, plus the standoff issue, which I was really happy with how it came together, the Orgo-centric issue, because writing within events is really interesting. It could go a lot of different ways, and I'm really happy that the two that I have written within at Marvel, those being back when I was on Avengers World with the Axis stuff, and then
Right.
with Standoff, they kind of fit in pretty organically into the book. And Nick had reached out early on and said, "Oh, I want to put Orgo in Pleasant Hill as a dog. I think that's really funny and cool." And I was like, "Oh no, that's awesome. We can definitely kind of move him off the team around issue 3 or 4, so it makes sense that he disappeared." And we all pretty quickly came to really like Orgo, so
Yeah.
I'm so glad we got to do that that Orgo-centric last issue. And again, it sucks because obviously we had stuff we wanted to get to, we had stuff we were seeding, but it's just the nature of monthly titles when so many things are going in and
Right.
out and so many different plans. And
Mhm.
again, a lot of times people are like, "Oh, what was the sales?" or whatever. It's every book I feel like at Marvel, within certain tiers, are following the same attrition rate. So it's not like someone pulled us aside and was like, "Oh, you're canceled." It's just that.
Yeah.
You don't get that discussion.
I mean, we get told to go forward on another arc, but it's not like someone canes you off stage or anything like that. So we're just super
You're in
happy that we
trouble.
got. Well, yeah, and I mean, it's the bummer because you can see when that happens at all publishers when it's issue 3 and suddenly stuff's not resolved. So I was really happy we got everything that I pitched in that first arc in, and obviously the bummer
Right.
being that we were planting stuff to go down the line, but it's just the way that it tends to go, which is the market is what the market is, and there is a strict. I mean, I don't know the number, but clearly they can't have endless titles going on, and
Right.
it just ends up. You hope that you can get the story you want to tell in the space that you have, and I feel like they really did right by us by letting us know nicely how much we would be doing, and the
Right.
fact that there would be a chance to do more, but make sure that if you want to tell a complete arc, you have it spelled out through there. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience. I love Brent's work. I love Nick. I love our editors, Katie Huber and Christina Harrington, and our editor, John Moisen, who brought us in, who's now at Skybound. So I was really happy to have the book, but it just felt so weird because we were actually very far ahead on the book.
Okay.
So it had been kind of off of our radars for a little bit before the final issue had even shipped. So I feel like it happened so long ago to me. But the trade comes out the 25th, and I'm really happy to have it all collected. And they're putting the short that Al Ewing had done in, I think it was like Shield number 7, that kind of gave some context to the new Commandos. So I remember when I found out about the book, I actually got to talk with Al before he wrote that, so we had seen a little bit of things I wanted to do into that, and really we had come up with like the idea of doing like Stake as its own organization, its own like acronym, and it's one of those things where it was a gig I never thought I would get, but I was really happy with what we were able to do with it and say. But again, it means a lot to hear positive feedback, so thank you so much for checking it out.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
And that was a very long
really
answer to a short question. I apologize.
No, that's great, man. What we like to hear. Tyler, what were you going to say, man?
It was a really just awesome book, and I'm glad that we got to see it to at least the end of an arc. Some books don't even get that.
And I have to say I'm so proud of just like Brent and Nick for being such amazing collaborators and hard workers, where they did every issue with me. And I mean, drawing a monthly comic is an inhuman task that I highly, highly respect, as I feel like there's a lot of demands, and Brent just charged in there and, again, got ahead of our schedule. So he's a really fantastic artist and, like, hard worker, and I'm just always flattered when I know my collaborators are giving basically everything they have to the book.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as I said, thank you for reading it, and anyone who didn't, who's interested, the trade will be out the 25th. It's a nice, complete story.
Yes. Tell you what, listeners.
May's a weird month with a lot of weeks, so.
Yes. If you didn't get a chance to pick up the Howling Commandos of S.H.I.E.L.D., you need to get the trade, because it is just a fun, like, kind of off the wall, like a whole, like, little special division of S.H.I.E.L.D. that deals with things that go bump in the night. So it's a really cool thing. Like, Frank, I hope they do something cool in this series next season, like do like a Halloween episode that's kind of like Howling Commandos. That would be really awesome. I think there's no reason why they shouldn't do that. You know what I mean?
Well, I feel like the big thing we were building to, and something I really want to do in like a macro sense, was put Dracula back on the team. And that's why you see him kind of at the bottom of the bunker. And I love the idea.
You lose your Frank? Still there?
Hello?
Uh-oh. Frank, did we lose you? I think we lost Frank. Frank, if you come back on, we're still here. we are still here, Frank. Hopefully we get Frank back on, but if not, yeah, you guys need to check out that book. David, did you read this book?
I have not.
Okay.
It's really good. You should read it in case you haven't gotten that from the past, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good stuff, man. Very good stuff. But David, since we got a minute to talk while we're hopefully waiting for our guest to come back on, let's welcome you to the show officially. Your first Capes Crew episode. David, tell our listeners what you do for our fine organization.
So I am a comic book and game writer.
Ooh, excellent. It's like a double threat right there, brother. What kind of books do you tend to gravitate towards as far as comic books go?
As far as comic books, I really like Letter 44, The Vision, Power Rangers.
Guys, I apologize. Did I lose you?
Frank,
Yeah.
we lost you, man.
I was
There you
rattling
are.
on and on about Dracula, and I looked at my
Yes.
phone. I'm like, oh, I'm not on the call.
Last thing we heard was that's why Dracula was in the bunker. That was the last thing we got. Uh-oh. Did we lose Frank again?
Uh-oh.
We might have. Crazy.
This is
crazy
going to be fun.
Crazy happenings are happening.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. It tried to get. It keeps asking me like, "Are you sure you want to hang out on the air?"
Yeah,
like, yes, I know.
Yes.
But
Okay, so
as I was just saying, like the Dracula stuff was like part of my like macro plan for the book, but we didn't get to it. But again, it's a fun exercise whenever you're doing a book like that to like play in the universe and think of like what cool things you could kind of find in the mythology or in the story.
yeah, absolutely. So Frank, enough about the past stuff. Let's talk about what you got coming up, man, because you got a new book dropping in like 2 weeks, right?
Yes, The Revisionist. I'm really, really excited about it. It's a book that we've been actually working on for, I want to say, a little over a year now. As I'm trying to think of when it was, like probably like right before San Diego last year that Aftershock made their initial announcements about
Okay.
the slate of what they were working on, and
Right.
it's a project I've really wanted to do like for as long as I've been writing comics, but I just never got the time or the right creative team. And I was so glad when Mike Martz reached out to me about Aftershock, and he asked me if I had anything I was really looking to do in the creator-owned space. And it's about a time-traveling assassin, which is a pretty loaded premise to put forward, but really, like, beneath that, it's a book with, like, a lot of, like, heavy themes about, like, predestination, like what you're meant for, about fathers and sons, and it's a lot of stuff that I really care about and think is interesting, and it's really, really fun to do that in a frame of like time travel, as time travel is always cool, but it's something that you have to really have a lot of rules for. And there was a really fun phase where we kind of came up with like how time travel really works in our universe, what makes it specific, what makes it special, and I'm really excited to slowly kind of get that information out where readers can see like, oh, like they thought about this. There's a really big plan here. There's a lot of, I won't say research because it's not necessarily science-based, but a lot of stuff we made up that it's a very loaded genre in the sense that we have things like Terminator, we have things like Back to the Future, and I feel like people get it in an almost instinctual way just from like processing fiction, but that's when we can really have fun and kind of subvert it a little and think about what we want to do. And I'm so glad to be working with Gary Brown and Lauren Affey, who both worked on issue 6 of Five Ghosts. And Lauren did all of Five Ghosts, but Gary I've known forever. He was actually good friends with Chris when they were in college when we met at the Kubert School, so I've known him for years and years, and I'd always been trying to find an opportunity to work with him, and he just finally, after literally doing so much work, he's such a prolific artist. He had done all of the artists. He had just managed to run on Catwoman. It was actually starting up Black Road, which just came out with Brian Wood on Image, and more of the Massive with Brian Wood again. Just had some room in his schedule to work on this, and it was just one of the right time and place books, no pun intended.
Right.
And I'm just like super proud of it. Just we've had such a great opportunity at Aftershock where they've really let us do our own thing and kind of create the book we want to create. It just feels like really, really organic in the sense that it just feels like garage comics. Like it's just the three of us working, and then we put out the book. And that's really the best way I love to work, especially on my creator-owned stuff, as if someone doesn't like the book, I can't blame it on an editor. I can't blame it on the publisher. It's
all on you, man.
Yeah, well, and in that way, it's a very honest reflection of our vision for the book. And we did have editors on the book, Michael Richter and Mike Martz, but they're much more of like a guiding voice and really just like talking through the stuff with us and never being restrictive or overwriting us. And that's just so nice because we feel like, again, I hate overusing the word organic, but it's just like if we sat down and made this comic like ourselves, this is exactly how it would be. And it's really cool to see that come out into the world and be published. So I'm really proud of it and think it's a lot of fun, and really worked hard to make sure that issue 1 like gets off to a fun running start and really introduces some bigger ideas and gives you almost like, don't want to over hyperbolize, but like a feeling like in the beginning of The Matrix, where you know there's like a bigger story here and a lot you don't understand, but hopefully trust the creative team to slowly unfold it and really kind of hook you.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, so that's another long-winded answer there. But yes, June 1st, I cannot wait for people to see it because it's really been a passion project. Yeah, it looks beautiful. I could not be happier with how the book all came together. And it's always exciting to see when something comes together for the first time and you kind of discover what something looks and feels like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Tyler,
I've
what were
been
you gonna
excited
say,
for
man?
it I've been excited for it ever since you announced it on your Twitter, and just like I mean the art, I mean just based on the cover, like
Yeah,
you
Gary does phenomenal cover work, and
yeah
that's one of
it's
the many things of why I'm excited to work with him. And he just like, he's an artist where you like throw out some ideas and he'll just send you back like concepts that are so good that's like, oh, you just fundamentally understand like cool aesthetic.
yeah like that's even if I didn't know about this book, that's a cover that would definitely make me pick it up.
Oh, thank you so much, and I'm sure
Yeah,
he'll be psyched to know that. But he just has a great design sense on top of being an excellent storyteller and kind of like draftsman. And that's the thing. I mean, it's so hard to find people you gel with when in this business when you're just constantly paired up with people. And it's always a lot of happy accidents. So it means a lot when I can kind of like pick my own collaborators and work with people again who I've worked with, because it really just makes it that much easier, as you don't need to necessarily kind of go through the motions to learn how each other works, but just kind of dive right in and start turning out the best stuff you can.
Yeah.
yeah.
So Frank, give us a little bit, if you can, on the main character of this book.
So his name is Martin Monroe, and there's no no accident of writing a time travel story about a main character who people call Marty
Yeah.
in our mind. But
Right.
and again, I feel like that's something fun you can do and kind of just current pop culture is lean into different things that people know and just kind of homage and touch on things. But Martin, when we meet him, is currently actually in jail, and we don't really know what his background is, but we know he has a rough patch with his father, and things have kind of not gone as planned. But we're treated to a prologue where we see him as this kind of teched out time traveling assassin.
Mm-hmm.
So we really kind of dial it back and give you the origin of how he gets into this kind of impossible, fantastic scenario, and see that he's definitely struggling with who he is, where he's going, and through mysterious circumstances I don't want to necessarily give away, that he definitely has a really dark, complicated relationship with his father, but ends up on the receiving end of a really important mission from his father, who's the last person he can trust. And that's really the foundation for moving forward and giving him a lot of moving pieces. I mean, he has a lot of guilt and a lot of things that he feels in his life he wishes he could do over. And obviously, we're doing a story about time travel, so that's going to be a really big part of it. And that whole what if with time travel, like what if things had been different? Like, what is destiny? Was I meant to do something, or did it happen because I made a bad choice? And for me, I feel like below the surface of it being an action story, and obviously like having cool sequences and being fun and being mysterious, there's really that substance there that we don't want to ever hit you over the head with, but a lot of those questions I think make for great time travel stories, or make for kind of good sci-fi, like looking at these kind of impossible situations or ways to almost like go back and change things. And what would you do? Like, are you defined by what happens, or can you change the past? And really in our story, the idea is though that there are time travelers who have been displaced, and without knowing it, just by being in other eras, they're completely disrupting reality, and it's almost like a ticking time bomb that any of these people, if they change one too many things, can destroy pretty much the whole known universe. And it's Martin's job to kind of go from era to era, and after deliberation, the only way to get rid of them is to actually kill them and remove them from the timeline. And he is a recovering criminal, so there's a really inherent problem and irony to what his role is, because he has to basically act as an assassin when he's tried to absolve himself of crime. So immediately we have that really nice conflict. And of course, the one person giving him this mission is his father, the last person he trusts. And just from that basic setup, I feel like we have a really nice like drama going on, and seeing what he chooses to do and how he processes basically getting thrown into what feels like a weird, surreal dream. And there are definitely a few, even in the first issue, surreal sequences that Gary and Lauren did an awesome job coming up with, like a really unique, fun way to render.
Yeah. God, that's cool, man.
See, and now I just want to tell you what
I really appreciate.
I really want to just tell you what happens in the book, which is counterintuitive, but I'll leave you at that. That issue 1 really will give you a nice piece of that and hopefully hook you into the world. And just like, it's a really damn nice looking comic. And I was recently talking to a place about what would get you excited. I hope just people see what the book looks like, and that's enough to kind of get them excited and trust us that we have a nice, long, cool story with a lot of payoffs that we've thought a lot about. And I feel like in terms of a lot of my work, like, this is very much in the same strike zone as Five Ghosts. And I think a lot of people who enjoyed Five Ghosts will really kind of get a lot of similar itches scratched from the revisionist.
Right. So Frank, being you made this statement that time travel itself, as a premise, is a very loaded premise. Like, can you tell us, is there any inspirations, any particular time travel, we'll say, stories or movies that you really kind of pulled ideas from, or maybe kind of were inspired by when writing that book?
Well, it's funny because, like, I knew I always wanted to do a time travel story, but the problem becomes is I don't want to add to that kind of bigger, like, narrative tapestry unless I feel like we had something unique to say. And I know it's so quick to be like, oh, this is like Back to the Future. Oh, this is like Terminator. Or this is even like other comics. Or this is like Looper. Like, Looper being, I feel like, one of the most modern kind of like super popular mainstream. Oh, well, the DC show, go figure. I feel like there was a few things we had planned that the DC show kind of leaned on that I had to change my plans.
You're talking about Legends of Tomorrow?
Yeah. I was so bummed when I found out they were doing a time travel show, and there was a few specific things that I kind of had been thinking about that they played with, and I didn't want to lean too close to that. Right. But I think on my end, my really dorky answer is the Super Nintendo game Chrono Trigger is my favorite game of all time, and I feel like I'm 31 now, and I grew up in that prime era of like really good Japanese role-playing games. That had a really profound effect on, like, again, how I process and parse story. And ever since I played Chrono Trigger, I want to write like a crazy time travel story. And I feel like there's some DNA from that really inspired me to think about just the mechanics of what could lead someone to go on like a bigger quest through time versus any specific film. The film stuff, funny enough, was more me covering my tracks and like rewatching Time Cop, rewatching all these films and like researching to make sure we weren't doing anything that was too similar, because I feel like that can just be distracting for your audience, that if they're too busy like comparing you to other stories, they won't really see what makes yours unique. But I am happy and confident enough as a writer right now that I feel like there's a lot that I specifically want to say with the work that kind of trumps any of the genre tropes. And we definitely lean into the fact that it's got a little bit of an 80s action vibe to it, which I'm really happy that we all kind of leaned into. And it's something that I know Gary was really excited to kind of like bring to his work. So again, I think in that way it has a kind of unique charm to it, and a little bit of like, especially because we open in a jail with a lot of like criminals, they're a little fun and on the nose, like in how they talk and act. But like the joy of doing a time travel piece is like we change kind of settings a lot in a lot of different eras. Not to spoil anything, but the basic time travel rules of the revisionist keep us from going like back to like the Paleolithic age or anything like that.
Yeah, because I was just gonna ask you, like, what's the furthest we go in your book?
Within the first arc, I would say I think the furthest we go back is the 70s, which was a very deliberate choice because I didn't want it to be like, oh, why doesn't he just go back and like, again, like invent the wheel or like stop human life or anything like that. And that's the fun part of working on a story like this. There's very organic, like story-driven plot points of why time travel is this way, and that was the fun part of kind of coming in and making something from scratch where we can really find like an organic reason why they could only do this. And that was very important to me too, because I also didn't want to have us go too far in the future. I mean, the first scene takes place roughly like, I would say like 50 to 80 years from now, but we quickly move back into the present, and then we'll see some other eras represented. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, and that's, I think, the joy of doing a lot of creator-owned work too. And I'm a creator who tries to keep myself balanced, and I love work for hire and the different challenges and like ways it scratches your brain, but getting to just come up with your own stuff and make the rules can be a really rewarding and fun experience. You just have to be really careful to make sure that all makes sense and doesn't get lost on the reader, because the last thing you want is a reader being distracted by errors in your logic or just something that's too out there. So in that sense, it's great to have editorial, because this is stuff I will talk to Mike and Mike about, and just really make sure, like, from kind of the first third party to hear about this, like, does this make sense? Is this engaging? Is it fun? And I think we've really kind of stumbled upon something cool. And in terms of other stories, it's fun because I really don't see anything where the character is outwardly kind of bad. And again, I hate the like good, bad moral compass, but our character Martin, as I said, is a recovering criminal. Like, he is not a good person, and he is essentially assassinating some people who may not deserve it, just happen to be in the wrong time and wrong place. And I think there's a lot of fun, like, moral quandary there, and it really kind of sets up stakes and a little bit more interesting conflict.
Right. I'm super excited about it, Frank. And that book drops June 1st, right?
Yes, very soon. I'm so excited for everyone to finally kind of get up to speed with where we're at. And that's the hardest thing for me about writing stuff I'm really excited about, just knowing that there is such a wait time between when we see the book and when we can actually talk about it.
Right. Frank, just the fact that you're super excited about this book makes me excited, because like when writers are really super excited and passionate about something they're putting out, it really translates to the book, and of course translate to the reader. So thank you for that, man. We're excited. We're excited to read it, man.
Being excited to hear that. I mean, that's the joy of when you have a great experience creating a book or given the space to do it, which has been basically my whole career so far. I can never like point to anyone and blame them for something not being a true vision. And as a creator, like, yeah, even if the book doesn't light the world on fire, there's nothing I would have done differently. So I can never really kind of just have any negativity. I just hope that people kind of can tell we're into it, that we care. And again, if it's not your cup of tea, bummer for us, but hopefully there's a lot of people who are excited by what we're doing and can at least, even if you don't like it, I hope you respect the craft that went into it, because we definitely all gave it our A game, so to speak.
Absolutely, man, and we're looking forward to seeing it. So kudos to you and your team on that. Frank, is there like any other big projects you have in the works that you can hint about, or give us dangle a little carrot in front of us about that you got coming up?
I feel like I just today, too, I shared some new art from it, but I've been slowly but surely teasing a new book that I'm going to be doing at Image in the fall with Victor Santos, who I last worked together on Black Market for Boom, and Victor is just such an out-of-this-world artist and so great, and I feel like he's never really had a breakout hit in the States. I mean, he had done a book called Filthy Rich with Brian Azzarello for Vertigo a few years back that I feel like got a lot of press because of Azzarello's involvement, and was a great book from both of them. But I had been talking to him, and we've been working on this for so long, and really just making what is basically like our dream book. And Victor is doing all of the art. He's penciling, inking, and coloring it. So it's a very, very true vision from his standpoint. And again, if you check out my Twitter, like today I just tweeted a splash page. It's a crime romance book, and I don't really want to say the title yet, but it's definitely a little outside, I think, what both of us have done so far. But I am absolutely like over the moon about this book and cannot wait for people to see what we're doing. It's really just the kind of thing where, as I said, from like authentic experiences, we made the book we wanted to make, and have done so slowly with kind of no interference, no one telling us what to do. And I just hope people love it as much as we do, quite honestly, at this point, because it's one of the things that it's a project that just really grows from being totally comfortable as collaborators, from respecting each other, and just thinking like, if we can only make one book we want to read, what would we make?
Right.
So but that will be out, and that will be out in the fall, and definitely as the summer rolls around, we will be kind of soliciting and announcing it, and I will be very, very loud about it, because it is definitely a project that's near and dear to me that I really would love to see have a nice long run over at Image, as we have a lot of plans for it.
Right. I'm gonna make a very guy statement right now, Frank. And just from the picture that you posted of this very nice looking lady with the sawed-off shotgun in her hand, I'm very intrigued.
Oh no, and Victor is a fucking amazing artist, and he draws beautiful women, and that
Yes.
is our female lead, who is quickly becoming one of my favorite characters I've ever worked on. And Victor just immediately nailed her design and gave her just so much life in the illustration that as a writer, that's like the greatest gift you can work with, because then
Yeah.
you kind of get that, and once you start seeing that, you get to know the character more, inspire it. And as I said, it's a little bit outside of what I've worked on, as there is a love story at the core of it, but it's also a crime story about robbing banks and criminals and more kind of anti-heroes. So we're really excited. It takes place in the 70s too, so it has a really cool aesthetic, and
Yes.
something that I feel like Victor just knows how to make stuff look cool, as dumb as that may sound, but it's much more important than a lot of people give credit for. And obviously we're
Right.
looking to a lot of really cool things like Badlands, like Tarantino's movies, Natural Born Killers, and even
Yeah.
stuff like Fargo that's been on, and really taking lessons from the style behind some of these like more true crime and over the top series, and kind of filtering it down into something that we just really love.
Absolutely. So Frank, we know you have a world to take over, but we just want to say thank you for talking to us. Drop us again for our listeners your social medias, and give us the details again on the Revisionist.
So first of all, Revisionist will be out June 1st in comic shops and at Comixology. And please, if you're a fan of anything I've worked on, I would highly recommend checking this book out. I feel like it's the newest thing I've worked on, so obviously the thing I'm going to be most proud of at any given moment. But you can get that wherever fine comics are sold, for lack of a better term. And for me, you can follow me at Atlas Incognita on Twitter, and no one ever understands what I'm saying when I say that, but it's ATLASINCOGNITA. And I stay pretty active on Twitter. I always try to tease new stuff I'm working on, show screenshots, and it is honestly the best way to kind of stay up on what I'm doing.
Absolutely. Well, Frank, thank you again for talking to us, man. I think this was like your third or fourth time being on the show, so you're a alumni.
Thank you so much. You'd be amazed, like, how often I get a chance to just talk about what I'm doing in a really nice, easygoing, organic way. So thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. I apologize to always be on the run, but
No,
I will
thank
make
you,
time
man.
whenever I can.
We're just gonna let you know we're sending your alumni ring in the mail soon, okay?
Yes, I finally made it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, my friend, and we'll hopefully get you back on when your next book drops. All right?
Absolutely. Hopefully sometime in the fall, and I can actually, like, not just give you vague details about what I'm working on.
Awesome. Thanks again, Frank. Have a good night, man.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a good show, and thank you for having me.
Bye.
Of course, anytime. Once again, folks, check out Frank Barbiere at Atlas Incognita on Twitter. Check out all his awesome books that he has already out and coming out. He's an awesome guy. We always love having him on the show. So thanks, Frank. We love having you any amount of time we can get you. So thank you again, guys. Let's we're gonna rewind, jump back to David. David, let's talk about your books. What tickles your fancy in the comic book world again?
So what I love to read about is kind of more meaty type of stuff, things that cover like serious issues. Although I do love my light comical books, but Vision's pretty deep about relationships. I like The Tick because it has some humor that you have to be a little bit more intellectual to know. Letter 44 is pretty good because the similarities it has with the current political scene. I also really like reading Invader Zim right now because it's kind of a darker humor.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch the show when it was on?
Yeah, I did.
That's definitely one of those like shows that I feel like is like so popular with people of a certain age group that I never really like wanted to watch, but now I do because everybody just talks about it so fondly. And so I'm like, God, I should have watched that show more often, you know?
It's definitely one of the ones that, like, because I watched it a few years ago, and
Right.
it's definitely one of the ones that's like it had good parts,
Hmm.
like really good parts,
Right.
but overall it was like it was good for its time.
Yeah.
But now it's like it compared to what cartoons are now, it's
Right.
pretty like good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
It's got
had a
some staying
point and I
power.
think I lost it.
You're saying that well,
Way to
you're
go,
pretty
man.
much saying cartoons these days aren't as good as cartoons were kind of back then.
No, no, no,
Yes.
no, no.
Oh.
I'm saying that
I agree with your statement, David.
um,
There's just something missing from a
sorry,
lot of shows
yeah.
nowadays. So David, being our newcomer to the show, we're gonna get right into our weekend geek, which I feel like we never get to anymore. We're always talking to such amazing people who we love hearing about and what they're doing in the industry. So sometimes it's hard for us to get to this segment, but we're gonna drop some weekend geek on you this week and talk about what we're reading, what we're watching, what we're doing, and all things geek. So, David, why don't you start us off with what comics you're reading this week, or something new that you really want to talk about?
So let's see. So I got a whole bunch of them from Free Comic Book Day, but let's see. The two that I've read most recently was Division issue number 7 and Power Rangers number 3. So I just did a review on Power Rangers number 3, and
Talk to me because I have issue 1. I'm missing 2. I just bought 3 because I'm gonna find 2. But
for Vision and
like,
Power Rangers.
tell me a little bit about like what Power Rangers.
Okay.
And so like how is it in comparison to like the old school like
And there's
show
also
that it's
issue
based
0,
on?
by the way.
Okay.
Yeah,
Issue 0.
issue 0 sets everything up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about the Power Rangers here.
Okay. So, do you want me to like go through the plot, or?
If you want, I can explain it.
I mean, I can explain it. I'm just asking what specifically do you want me to talk about it.
Yeah. Talk about the story, the plot. What
Okay.
are we working on here?
Okay, so the series starts with the Green. So you kind of have to have some Power Rangers background because it's starting off with the Green Ranger has just become one of the normal Rangers. So you're kind of seeing a lot of more in depth of the lore of Power Rangers. Like we don't get to see a lot more of what's inside that headquarters where Zordon is. Like
Okay.
that's a huge space, and we never really get to see more of it in the TV show.
Right.
And so it's a lot of there's a lot of character development and some serious conversations going on, and every issue kind of has a spin-off thing for Skull, and I forget the other guy's name.
Bulk and Skull.
Yeah, Bulk and Skull. So it's really good. There's some action going on, some really cool Megazord artwork that I love, and I really fell in love with like the first 2 or 3 issues variant arts. Like they were just gorgeous. So a lot of it right now is following. So the plot right now is the Green Ranger is just getting over Rita's curse, being under her control.
Right.
But that has led to Rita getting control over his Megazords. So that's where issue 3 leaves off at.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
What Go ahead, Tyler. What are you gonna say?
What? Oh,
Do it up.
I was
Talk to
agreeing.
me. Yeah, that thing.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I personally was a bit like too old for the original Power Rangers, the one that this is, when I was young.
Hey,
But
don't say you were too old. I'm older than you, and I used to watch it.
I was born in '96.
Exactly.
So
I was definitely
3
too old then.
I was 3 when the original Power Rangers premiered. Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
I was born in '90. So what? Am I older than all of you?
Nope. Nice
No.
try, buddy. Not even close. I got you by almost 10 years.
Oh, darn it.
But yeah, like I had to do some research like before reading this, just because I don't know this era of Power Rangers very well.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, like I'm really enjoying it. Like it's stuff that the show didn't have time for. Like it's stuff
Okay.
in between the episodes that I'm really enjoying where
Yeah.
the author is taking this book.
Yeah. So far, the only thing I've cracked in on those books is just picking them up and looking at the really nice covers. So that alone got me. I'm like, wait, there's a Power Rangers book and it looks really kick-ass. I want it. So
Yeah, no,
I
the
bought
art
them.
looks the art is beautiful.
Yeah, like I said, I'm missing issue number 2, so I gotta find that, and I'll start reading that soon. But and then what was the other thing you've been reading, David?
The Vision.
The Vision, yes, which is another
Yes.
book that I have a couple issues of and haven't read yet. I'm really behind, guys. I suck right now. But talk to us about The Vision. What's your thoughts on that book?
So it's really
by
good.
Tom King, by the way, been on the show a couple times. We love Tom. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, I really love it. And I like Tom King too. Like I've heard about him and a lot of his stuff. So it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
And I love it. There's like, I forget if it's in issue 1 or issue 2, but he kind of talks about one of the reasons he wrote it is because he kind of grew up as an outsider, you know, because I don't know if it's still the thing now, but common people are treated like, oh, you're kind of, you know, you're different, you know, because you read comics.
Yeah.
So Vision is like an outsider, you know, and he's trying to fit in white suburban society. He wants a family, and he wants kids, and you're just trying to see, like, this whole family try to fit in. And then there's an event that happens where the Grim Reaper comes and pretty much like nearly kills his daughter, and like the Vision's gone, so it's the mom, the son, and the daughter, and the mom like freaks out and kills the Grim Reaper and buries him. And then there's another twist. One of the neighbors watches the mom bury the evidence.
That's nice. Nice.
Yeah. So that's just, it's kind of like the sad part is, you know, that they're basically they're different in that sense now. This whole thing happened and they're already kind of set apart. There's another issue too where the son at the school loses his temper and he nearly puts this kid in a coma because he talks about his sister.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because a lot of what's going on, the personalities of so Vision, I think, in the comics is based off of Wonder Man, and now we're just finding out who his children and his wife were based off of.
Okay.
So the wife, his personality is based off the Scarlet Witch.
Right, of course.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. And then they show a flashback where the Scarlet Witch and the Vision had kids, and it's not confirmed, but I'm thinking the children, their personality is based off the Vision's current children.
Well, I mean, the thing about the thing about Scarlet Witch and Vision having kids is that they exist, but they don't, because it's a whole thing. There's like, you know, parts of the devil's soul.
Like what with Mephisto, right? Or
Mephisto?
Yeah.
Billy and Tommy. Their souls are like originally part of the devil's.
Yeah.
And then like he took them back, but then they found their way to new host bodies. So like Wanda technically has kids, but she doesn't. It's comics is great. Comics are great.
Yes. Comics is fun with their craziness. Nice. Well, that's I was really like was intrigued by that whole. It's kind of like a psychotic like Avengers meets Leave It to Beaver kind of book, you know. It's kind of like, but and I feel like definitely with his appearance in Civil War, they're almost kind of like slightly starting to, you know, just brush over the surface of that issue of, you know, Vision trying to fit in with everybody else that's around him. So I kind of like how we're kind of seeing that transition as well as to the cinematic Vision. But Good stuff, man. You watching anything good and geeky right now?
I'm rewatching Power Rangers.
The
And
original one?
yeah, the original ones all over again.
Yes.
It's all on
So,
Netflix, I think.
yeah. Oh, and the other series that I really like that has its season finale coming up is the 100, which is another very meaty, and also the Fear of the Walking Dead.
Yes. I haven't started the new season started of Fear the Walking Dead, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Ah.
It's good.
I haven't started.
So,
yet.
since you and me live in California, like, I feel
Yes.
like it's a lot more relatable, and
Right.
I lived in California for 18 of my 19 years.
so it'd be relatable to you too.
Yes. Tyler knows what's up too. It's kind of weird seeing like all these landmarks that we know and like it kind of what it would look like if it really happened for us. We'd be like, oh, this is weird.
This is how it would go.
I'm not going to spoil anything. This is like in the first 5 minutes of the first episode. It's like the opening part.
Right.
For you. But there's an amazing scene where LA is burning.
Ooh.
And it's just like, you see this massive, you see like one building on fire, and then the camera just kind of pulls out further and further and further.
Right.
And it's really like that was a great way to start the season.
Yeah, it's kind of surreal too. Cool, man. Well, thank you, David. Tyler, what do you got this week, man?
I'm trying to see what came out last week. How about you talk real quick?
How about I talk
for a second?
Yes. Like I said, I've been very behind on books. We can blame it on the fact that I was getting married for a while and doing all this other crazy stuff. Whatever. Just say that.
But let's not.
Let's not. Let's just not say I'm being lazy.
This is all just it's all your fault.
Lazy, all my fault. You guys know I'm a huge Disney fanatic, and I haven't really picked up any of like the Disney like ride comic book based, ride based.
Oh yeah, like the Haunted Mansion and
yeah, but I'm reading the Haunted Mansion. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Which to we'll say to preface this review of this book that like my bedroom is Haunted Mansion themed. It's not quite done yet, but it's getting there. So I'm a huge fan of the Haunted Mansion. That's like my all-time favorite, we'll say classic Disney ride. So when I saw that they were making a comic book out of it, of course, instantly I was like, I must have. Okay. So kind of a fun book, interesting story. Centers around a young boy who had a very adventurous, like just a cool like man's man grandpa who like climbed Mount Everest and did all this cool shit, and very much like this big imposing presence that the grandson always kind of looked up to. And we'll say spoiler alert. It's already out there, but spoiler alert. Grandpa dies. The kid still very much is like that. We'll say like Grandpa was kind of what made the kid strong. Kid was like, I want to be more like Grandpa, so I got to be strong like Grandpa. Well, I can't think of his name right now, but he gets a message from beyond that the old mansion that they were always walking by, that's supposedly haunted, is where his grandpa is currently in the afterlife, and that he's in trouble. So, kid finally gets the balls to go to the haunted mansion, and finds out that there is a very bad presence who has entrapped all the other spirits in the mansion, meaning they can't go, come, and do what they please. There's this guy who's like keeping them there, this other spirit who happens to be a captain. It's kind of cool because if you're a fan like me of the Haunted Mansion, you've probably done a lot of reading on some of the original, we'll say, story concepts of the ride, and there was ones that had to do with the sea captain and his wife being the bride and all this other stuff. So it seems like they're kind of really incorporated some of that mythology that a lot of fans have accepted as part of the Haunted Mansion into this comic, which I really appreciate. But other than that, it's just a fun thing to see elements of the ride that somebody loves so much in a comic acted out in different ways, played out in different ways in a different story. So if you're at all a fan of the ride, you're going to love this book. If not, you're not a big Disney fan, probably not for you. Whatever. I love it. I like the artwork. It's by Williamson. Coelho and Barbiere. I don't know how to pronounce that name. I suck with names like that, but whatever. So that's one of the books I read. Other book, surprise, surprise, is an Iron Man book. Our meeting International Iron Man. Um, I feel like I need to kind of be versed in the whole Iron Man universe. Tyler, David, I don't know if you can help me on this, but apparently somewhere recently Tony Stark found out that his parents weren't really his parents. I guess.
I don't care for Tony Stark, so
Hey, you watch yourself, buddy. And recently discovered that the people who raised him weren't his parents, so he's now in search of his real father, which has led him to Bulgaria. Um, he's re-meeting in a not so nice way with his childhood sweetheart named Cassandra.
okay.
Who's not the nicest person anymore. So far the first two books have been a lot of flashback story of that whole relationship between him and Cassandra when they were in college, and kind of how it evolved. And I guess they're kind of setting up why now their meeting now is so difficult, because I guess like she was like he was really into her, we'll say. Have you read it, David? You've been reading
No.
International Iron Man? Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it's I'm still kind of like I don't know where this is going, because like I said, there's been a lot of flashbacks so far. I don't feel like we're getting like a lot of like the story of him trying to find out who his real parents were. So I'm still giving it a chance, but I like the artwork. It's a well-written story. It's always cool to see Tony, for me anyways, Tyler. It's always cool to see Tony at different parts of his life, and the ass or not ass that he was at certain times. So yeah, so those are the two main things that I'm reading. Other thing that I haven't really gotten to talk about since I started watching it. I know a lot of you guys on the site and on the show are really happy when I made the statement on Twitter that I feel like I'm finally becoming one of those full-fledged fans of DC television on the CW. I've definitely been into Legends of Tomorrow since it started, and so subsequently that's made me want to go back and watch other shows that are tied into it. Love the Flash, like huge Flash, love it. Like can't get enough of it right now. Unfortunately, I only have access to season 1 and like the second half of season 2, so I haven't started season 2 yet. I'm kind of pissed off with Hulu for doing that to me, but I don't know, man. This is like one of those cliche statements that have been made like so much, it's ridiculous. But I really wish that DC movies would get on the level with their television shows, because they would be at a good race with the Marvel movies if they were on that level. Because I mean, their TV stuff is just it's ridiculous. And I know, Tyler, you're a fan of all the CW DC stuff, right? You there, Tyler? You sleep?
I think you froze.
I don't know. David, are you watching any CW DC TV?
Well, the 100's on the CW, but I'll be honest, I can't get into any of the DC TV shows.
Okay. See, that's kind of where I was at for a while, and then I think, like I said, watching Legends of Tomorrow, because a lot of that show is like elements from like Arrow and from Flash, and so it really made me kind of like want to go back and find out where all this stuff came from, So I think in that respect, it was kind of I don't know, I guess a different perspective than most people, because I didn't start by watching Arrow or the Flash. I watched kind of like the end game, we'll say. So that alone is just kind of, I don't know, man. I think they're just, the stories are fun, the villains are fun. To me, I'm like, to me, I guess it was really easy to get involved and attached to the main characters like Barry Allen and the Flash. You just kind of you really want to, like, you root for them, and you really want to know what happens to them from week to week. So I'm a huge fan of those, man. But I'm dying to get started on season 2 of the Flash, because I'm kind of like, I want to know what happens. Even got my wife.
I think maybe part of the reason why I feel a bit disconnected from it is I feel the CW, at least from what I've heard from people, they've kind of made it more for a younger audience, and I think I've caught on to that. Whereas some of the shows I've liked have been geared towards more an older audience.
Yeah. I think I guess I could see that opinion in a way, but I don't feel like it's so much so. Like, we'll say it's definitely not like when you read the first Harry Potter book and that was definitely geared towards little kids. It's not like that, okay? I think it's definitely geared more towards, we'll say, a comic book reader in mind, to where that obviously certain comics are, in all age range where anybody can pick it up and understand it and follow along. So I think in a sense it is a little bit, but I still feel like there's definitely some very adult themes in the Flash in general that are definitely for an older crowd. You know what I mean? But like you said, like definitely some of the action and some of the fighting scenes is not super violent to where, like, I guess you could say it's kind of geared towards a younger crowd. But I mean, still, to me anyways, from my perspective, I don't feel like it took away from the show as a whole. I really enjoy what I've seen so far. Now I want to watch Arrow, and that's kind of a daunting task because we're on like season 6 or 7 of Arrow or something like that. There's a lot of Arrow to watch. so I'm waiting a little bit to get into that one, but I don't know, man. It's good stuff.
Speaking of DC, have you read or heard about the reboot of the Mega Men?
I've been hearing a lot about DC reboots. I haven't read anything in particular, but
Okay.
What's going on with that?
I read it, and
Yeah.
and the sad part is I don't remember. Somebody told me if you like Star Wars, Skywalker Strikes Back, and The Vision, I was gonna love this. And I read the Mega Man, and I was so confused about what was going on. And I had never read the Mega Man before, so
Right.
I don't know if you could enlighten me or enlighten the audience, like what exactly is.
Shoot, man. I don't even know what that is, man. I'm confused. Listeners, followers, tell us about the Mega Men.
The only thing that I've caught from it is it has to do with the White Lantern, and I'm like, is that supposed to be the cousin, the brother of the Green Lantern?
I know there's a lot of different lanterns in the universe, David. There's like white and green and yellow and all colors under the sun. I know that much. But like I said, I'm not as up to date with my DCs as I am Marvel. Okay, so I'm still working on that. Y'all have to forgive me. I'm still working on my DC, but that's something we'll have to dig into a little bit.
The other thing that annoyed me a lot was I felt half of the comic was in like alien language. So I'm just watching these. I'm watching these people speak, and I'm like, "Oh, this is kind of weird."
Yeah, you're interesting. Interesting. Intriguing. So I'm gonna shift gears. I hate when I do this. I'm gonna shift gears to like a less excited note, but it's a good segue since we're talking about DC, and there's in this lovely world of comics, there has been we'll say some giants, some titans of the industry that their work is very prolific and profound, and I feel like in their own ways they kind of shape this beautiful thing that we call comics. And unfortunately, just recently we lost one of the greats, Darwin Cook, who was probably very popularly known for his, we'll say, very retro style of comic. He's definitely known for the New Frontier as far as the Justice League. So we just want to give our respect and our gratitude and honor for all the contributions that Darwin Cook made to this industry, and he will definitely be a presence that will be missed in the comic book world. So our best to his family and to all his fans. I know there's a lot of us here on the site that are fans of Darwin Cook, so we just want to say thank you for all the amazing stuff you brought to this universe. So folks, if you get a chance, pick up one of his books, watch Justice League New Frontier, and just honor the man for the genius that he was. So Darwin, thank you, wherever you are, if you're listening. And so that's that.
Justice League New Frontier, is that what is that? Is that the animated movies or?
That's the that's the animated one. That kind of like.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah,
that was so good. So good.
Yeah, I love that one. That's definitely one of my and I'm not just saying that for obvious reasons. That's one of my favorite like DC animated movies. Really love that one. That's a really good one.
Hi.
And it kind of deals with Tyler. It kind of deals with the Justice League like in the 1950s, I think it was. So it's kind of a cool take on the Justice League that you're used to seeing in a more like modern setting, I guess we'll say. So definitely check that out. We were just giving our respects to Darwin Cook, Tyler.
Oh yeah. I mean, I haven't really read what he's done, but I know he was very important to the comics landscape, and
Yeah.
I mean, he died. He was what 50, 51,
53,
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's super young, and I'm
Yeah.
sad that we
Yeah.
lost him.
Yeah.
And actually,
Yeah.
we have some breaking news.
Break it.
Apparently,
Drop it.
yes. So the Fallout.
Oh, don't do this, Tyler. Tyler, you there? You there?
What?
Tyler? Froze up. I'm sorry. Go back to the beginning. Start again. Drop the news. Go.
Oh.
Yeah.
So Batman v Superman, and the fallout from that is causing John Burke and Jeff Johns to co-run DC films.
Oh.
Trying to desperately course correct the comic book movies.
I think they need to.
Yeah, so
to say the least.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it looks like yeah, I mean, so it looks like both Berg and Johns will be producers on the Justice League movie, which is good because they need to stop Zack Snyder.
Yes.
And yeah.
Do we feel like this is a good change? Cause
yes.
I mean,
yes.
I don't want to. I don't. Okay. If you guys want to shoot me your hate mail for this, all right, you can. You guys can say, Will's just a Marvel fanboy, whatever. Okay, it's not completely true. Okay, it's mostly true, but still, I don't think what they've been doing so far. We'll say, with the exception of the Dark Knight trilogy, which I thought was pretty awesome. I don't think what they're doing Yeah, I don't think what they're doing so far has worked. So I think they really
No, it hasn't.
Yeah, I really think they need to go back and reformulate and do this thing right, because they can. They have the ability. They have amazing people writing for DC who can write a damn story. I just don't know what's going on. Like, granted, I don't know every nook and cranny of what goes on in making a comic book movie. I just see the end result.
Did you guys like the original Batmans?
I was a fan of Keaton.
Yeah.
Big fan of Keaton. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And sorry, just to continue with this more. It looks like Suicide Squad is going. John's actually got really involved in that. He's in the post-production right now, and they pretty much, like, according to this, at least from what I can gather, like, his influence on that made Warner realize that they need someone to actually run this show.
Yeah.
So that's why they got Johns and Berg in it. So are we thinking that now, because of this new move, that we're going to be seeing a different Suicide Squad than possibly what was originally going to be released? I think we'll be seeing changes that weren't going to be in the original.
Yeah.
Cut. I mean, I don't know. Mm-hmm. At this point, let's face it, DC is literally writing on Suicide Squad to make or break it. So
it kind of seems like it, yeah.
Yeah, like yeah.
And it's kind of scary because, I mean, already we'll just say in the department of the Harley Quinn fans, they're already, like, you know, they've already dug themselves a hole. There's a lot of people not happy with how they're portraying that character already. So.
Well, I'm interested in that rumor that Harley Quinn could get a spin-off movie. Yeah, which one would be great, because according to that rumor, at least, there'll be a lot of, like, the Birds of Prey will be in it, which I would love to see the Birds of Prey on the big screen.
Yeah, yeah. David, thoughts about Suicide Squad or possible Harley Quinn movie?
I'm for the Harley Quinn movie, and I think Suicide Squad looks stupid. Enough said.
looks stupid. Enough said. Gotcha.
And speaking of movies, not necessarily DC, how do we feel about the revelation that Iron Man 3's villain was supposed to be female, but Marvel told Shane Black that wouldn't work because it wouldn't sell toys?
Personally,
it's crap.
It is crap, but it doesn't surprise me. Now, would that happen now? Probably not. Probably not with the recent backlash about female leads in Star Wars and the public upset of not having her featured in toys. I don't think that would happen now, but I think Iron Man 3 was still kind of definitely in that stupid mental space where that's all they were thinking about. How much is it going to sell?
Let's face it, Iron Man 3 isn't exactly it doesn't really come up on the radar when I personally think of Marvel movies.
Right.
And I think that was probably because for me at least, the villain was
the whole villain fiasco.
Marvel villains, he was a shell.
Yeah. Right.
He was a shell of a person, and that was it.
Who was did they say in the article who was supposed to be the villain?
I think it was supposed to be that woman who worked on Extremis.
You're talking about Maya?
Tony?
Maya
yeah, and that's how the film seemed to go, and then it took a massive shift. I remember sitting in the theater and thinking, what?
Because essentially, if you go back and think about the events of the movie, she's essentially the person who created the Extremis technology. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So you can kind of see where they could have easily just carried on that series of events to where she becomes this uber bad guy later on.
And I feel it would have resulted in a much better villain.
Agreed. Yeah.
Sorry, but I have a question about what you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
I'm no Iron Man expert, but from my understanding, though, the main villain that's supposed to be the Mandarin, isn't he supposed to be kind of some from Asian descent in the comics?
Yeah, the Mandarin in the comics is massively racist, which is why they changed it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So
we're talking like that very exaggerated, caricature racist level. That's what we're talking
about. It's very. Yeah. It's not good.
Yeah. No. So we didn't think that was going to come out in the MCU. I don't think there was a chance of that. But I mean, I think, Tyler, I kind of agree with you. As much as I love Iron Man, I kind of agree with you that had they just kind of kept along with that story, whether it was going to sell toys or not, I think it would have made for a much better movie. I really do.
Or at least just a better villain.
Yeah. I
agree with you guys.
Yeah, totally. Wholeheartedly, 100%. Cut the check. Boom. That's it. Did we? I don't think we got to talk about this last week or the week before, but so since we're on the topic of Iron Man, which Will kind of loves a little bit over here, kind of all about the Iron Mans. Do we think, because we know that probably 6 months ago to a year, RDJ and Marvel pretty much said there's no chance of there being another standalone Iron Man movie. Now we're hearing that RDJ is saying, "I'd be up to do one more." Do we think it'll happen? Do we think it'll happen?
I think it. If it happens, it's not going to be this phase of the movies.
No,
and personally, I don't need another Iron Man movie. I'm kind of, honestly, I'm kind of tired of him popping up everywhere and where he's going to be popping up, because I liked him in Spider-Man, but I don't need to see a movie of that.
Right.
I like Iron Man, but I don't need him to be everywhere.
Okay.
You know?
Gotcha.
I don't know.
David, thoughts on a possible Iron Man 4?
I don't think so. I think a lot of people are burnt out with Iron Man.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think people would
everybody
rather.
except for me.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yes,
I
except
think,
for you.
Yes,
I think a lot of people want to see more villains. Although I have some friends that are super cynical, and they're like, I don't want to see another, second tier superhero movie. And he claimed he didn't like Ant-Man, and I was like, I liked Ant-Man, so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Ant-Man was Iron Man 1, but it was, I do understand. I don't get the hate it got. Like, it was perfectly just fine.
Right.
It was fine.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. I think you guys already know if I want Iron Man 4 or not, so we'll skip that part. We'll skip over the part if I think that we get too much Iron Man in the MCU. We'll skip over that. It's funny because Casey has said this a lot, that he feels like comic book burnout, but I don't think necessarily that. I mean, okay, if we're looking at Civil War that just passed like the $800 million mark worldwide, clearly general public is not tired of superhero movies yet. I think they're just tired of the same superhero movies. I think like David just said, Ant-Man was good because sure, it was very similar to Iron Man 1, like you said, Tyler, but I think it was Iron Man 1 in a very different way, and I think it was those little differences that made it enough for people to really like it. And I think that's kind of where we're at, and I really think that's a good place to be in the MCU, that we're really going into like this next phase, and it's going to be all about like magic and mysticism and alternate dimensions, because it's going to create a very different slate of films a very different slate of films that we've been seeing. And I really think that's, I mean, in my opinion, I think that's kind of where comic book movie fans are at. We want to see something different. We've seen enough aliens invading and that kind of stuff and shit blowing up. We want to see like different superhero stuff. We want to see.
We've seen enough faceless villain armies.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. I agree.
There's one villain that I would love to see more of because he comes up in a lot of series, Dormammu.
Dormammu, yeah. I heard a rumor
I think they're
that
if that's not the villain in Doctor Strange, it'll be like the post-credit scene for that one.
Okay, yeah.
I'm fairly sure.
Yeah.
Because personally, based on just what I know about Dormammu, he's really he's not the kind of villain you introduce in a first movie. He's very much a behind the shadows kind of villain.
Gotcha.
Just based on what I know.
Yeah. Well, guys, I think that's a good time to wrap it up. So it's always good when we get on these rant discussions, because I love especially amongst our organization that we're those geeks that can have these fun discussions and debates and not call each other stupid names like we're in kindergarten. Like some people on the internet.
You're a jerk, Will.
You're a big poopy face poop face.
How dare you?
I know. David,
I'm
you want to
personally
start
offended.
us off? That's right, you should be. David, you want to start us off tonight with your final thought, your 60 seconds to say, plug, talk about whatever you want.
So, I'll be honest, I just read my first Doctor Strange and Spider-Man crossover comic book, and I was like, Doctor Strange is so cool, and I can't wait for his movie. I think I love his personality and how dignified he is, and that's my final say.
Awesome. And buddy, are you on Twitter? And if so, where can our listeners follow you at?
I'm not on Twitter, sadly. I do have a Tumblr though.
Okay. What's the Tumblr? Drop it.
So it's comic book fan. I don't have it on me right now, but I think it's like comic book fan or comic book guy 90.
Okay.
Yeah.
90. Excellent. All right, buddy. Hey, man, thank you for being on for your first Capes Crew show. Love to have you back. It's good talking to you, all right?
All right.
Tyler, final thoughts, sir?
They need to introduce magic in the MCU, and they need to do it fast. And some of the rules that they've set for like Thor and stuff doesn't make sense when you think about it, like with magic, instead of because it's
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Sweet. Stuff. Love it. Magic stuff. Tyler, Twitter?
Cyberpunk Warlock. That is CYBRPUNKWARLOK. Because Twitter is stupid.
Yes, it is. Sir, thank you, as always. It's always a blast chatting with you. And listeners, fans, fellow geeks, make sure you are checking out that awesome place, our little home on the internet we like to call thegww.com. If you want to find stuff by David over there, I'm sure Tyler's got stuff on there. I'm sure you can find stuff even from me on there. I mean, there's stuff from all of us at the GWW over there. So if you want to know more about what's... Tyler's like, what are we talking about?
No, you cut out for a second. I was freaking out.
So if you want to find out more about the latest in comics, games, tech, movies, editorials, opinion pieces, anything having to do with the wonderful world of geek that we all love to dive deep into in our daily lives, some of us anyways, go to thegww.com, check it out because it's up there. So thanks for your continued support. We love and appreciate every single one of you. And that's it for us tonight, Tuesday, May 17th. We look forward to seeing you again next week, where there's rumors that we're going to have some pretty big guests next week. But we won't drop that until we know for sure. So keep an ear out. Follow us on Twitter at GWW Capes Crew. You can find me on Twitter at Dar Sparrow. And for the whole team, thank you, and I'll catch you on the geek side.